this morning we have some soaking rains pelting the northeast, and coming up in a moment we'll show you how that wet weather may be impacting your morning commute. Right now though, it's time for Storm Watch, and this edition of Storm Watch is sponsored by the Home Depot. And this go around we start Storm Watch by first of all looking at the tropics. And right now the big weather story for the tropical update is our big typhoon Zeb. Now yesterday this was a super typhoon. At one point the peak winds were up to 180 miles per hour. Yesterday it slammed into the Philippines right around the Luzon area, again with winds up to 180 miles per hour. Now the details for damage are coming in. They're just very scanty at this particular point, but undoubtedly with those strong winds there must be a lot of damage across the Philippine area. Now though, this system has weakened. Maximum winds are now down to 130 miles per hour. But this is still a very dangerous typhoon, a very dangerous tropical system that will eventually kind of recurve more to the north as we go along in time. And with that in mind, it may eventually impact Taiwan as we go through the next couple of days or so. Elsewhere though, we check out the eastern Pacific, and at this point we have Tropical Storm Kay. Now this used to be a hurricane. It has weakened a little bit. Now winds of 70 miles per hour, and it continues to churn its way towards the west-southwest at only about 5 miles per hour. The official forecast keeps it more or less holding its own for the next 24 to 48 hours. As we go beyond that point in time, though, it will eventually encounter some cooler waters in the Pacific and will eventually gradually weaken. But at least for the next day or two, it will likely hold its own with winds very similar to what it is right now. Here's our latest satellite imagery. We can clearly pick out Tropical Storm Kay. Now the good news with Kay is that it's not affecting any land areas right now. However, if you are planning on going boating or fishing around this area, it will certainly be impacting shipping interests. But aside from that, Kay really poses no major threat. Now upstream though from Kay, we have a couple disturbed regions. One, a cluster of showers and thunderstorms just to the southwest of the Guadalajara area, and we also have a cluster of showers and thunderstorms too right around the Gulf of Tehuantepec, and both of these areas certainly bear watching for the potential for some development. Elsewhere though, we check out the Atlantic Basin, and right now we see a huge trough digging in across the Caribbean, causing some very strong wind shear across the area. But as we look back climatologically speaking, the Caribbean is a favorite area for the month of October. Another favorite spot is the Western Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. These are the areas most prone for tropical development for the month of October. And as we look through time from October the 11th through the 20th, there has been a fairly large concentration of tropical storms forming throughout these regions. So indeed, these are the favorite spots for October for tropical development. Having said that, though, right now things are still looking relatively calm throughout those regions. As again, we have this huge trough that continues to dig in through the area, helping to cause wind shear and helping to suppress tropical development. However, though, there has been a little tropical wave, a little disturbance working its way across the Windward Islands. And at least for the last 24 hours, we've had some significant rains, especially around Puerto Rico and around Dominica. We've had reports of nearly 4 inches of rain for some of the islands. Still throughout the day today, there will be periods of locally heavy rains coming in across the Puerto Rico area, so not the best of days for vacationers around Puerto Rico. Elsewhere, though, a little bit farther out towards the Atlantic, things are looking very quiet, just a few weak waves drifting off towards the west, and really no big deal. Stateside, though, all eyes are focused on a couple storm systems today. Actually, we have 3 systems, one affecting the northeast, the other getting better organized across the nation's midsection, and yet a third storm system that is just now trying to come in across the Pacific Northwest. This system will likely bring some substantially cooler weather for Washington and for Oregon. Snow levels will be lowering quite a bit today, down to about 4,000 feet for the Cascades. Meanwhile, we've had a little bit of rain action across the parts of Colorado this morning, spreading across the Nebraska Panhandle, but the worst conditions so far have been across the Northeast. Soaking rains right now across the Hudson Valley. We've had some pretty good rains too right around the Big Apple, with some moderate rain right now for Caldwell and for Newark, New Jersey. More about this coming up in just a moment.
Much of the country will enjoy a beautiful fall day, but it could be a wet commute for folks in the Northeast. Details ahead on Weather Center after your local forecast.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
Home
Home Depot is like 5 stores in one.
Well, Home Depot's ideal really is to make sure the customer gets what they need.
This is not a little hardware store. They only have 5 of one type of thing. We have 100 of one type of thing.
We're very proud of the selection we can offer people.
You're going to find name brand quality products.
It's a one-stop shopping place.
You can get all this stuff here at Home Depot.
Insulate your home with a Clopay steel garage door. Look for the HDG Premium, the 2050 Premium, and the 183 Valve Plus at the guaranteed low price at the Home Depot.
I've got a fresh secret. You can add Bounce's time-released freshness to all kinds of places. Try putting a new sheet of Bounce in your closet or gym bag. Isn't it great finding a new use for a product you already love? Bounce. Sometimes the freshest ideas are right under your nose.
Right now, you can get a complete pair of great-looking glasses for only $99 at LensCrafters, and your choice of hundreds of the latest frame styles.
LensCrafters.
And welcome back to the Weather Channel. We have rain in New England and snow in the Cascades. We'll detail all of that coming up in just a few moments. But first, to start off our Storm Watch segment, we want to check out the tropical update. And with us with more is John Hope.
Thank you, Kristen. And we're going out to the Pacific, where we've had a typhoon, a major super typhoon actually hit Luzon in the Philippines. Now, the eye of this typhoon has been ashore for the better part of 24 hours now. It came in here on the east coast, and right now the eye is exiting up on the northwest coast. Now, before it made landfall, the top winds were clocked at 180 miles an hour, but now, since it's been over land all this time, the winds have weakened quite a bit. They're down to about 115 miles per hour. But it's going to emerge this afternoon up over the China Sea and South China Sea, and then turn more towards the north, and very likely is going to score a direct hit, or very nearly a direct hit, on the island of Taiwan. That will be sometime tomorrow. Now, the reports that are coming in about damage and so on are very scanty so far. It's still night over there in the Philippines. It's about midnight right now. So very likely it'll be another 12 hours before we get a whole lot of news, and we certainly hope that the damage and casualties are not as great as we fear they might be. Now, in the eastern Pacific, we have a tropical storm off the coast of Mexico. This is a very weak system. Winds now down to 45 miles an hour. Yesterday, you know, it was a hurricane, but it has weakened quite a bit in the last 24 hours. It's moving now towards the southwest, and we really don't think it has a lot of future. Certainly nothing to worry about for folks on land. And you can see what's happened to it on the satellite pictures. We put this picture in motion. Most of the deep clouds, the heavy showers, thunderstorms, and so on around the center have dissipated. So this might dissipate entirely. In any case, it is weakening, and we forecast it to continue to weaken as time goes by. We have another disturbance southwest of Acapulco. We're looking at one yesterday here south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec. Neither one of those are showing a whole lot of indications of getting more organized. Here you can see the one south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec a little bit better. Pretty good concentration of showers there, but I can't see that it's become very much better organized in the last 24 hours. Well, now we'll turn our attention to the Atlantic, where right off I can tell you that we don't have any systems out in the Atlantic that are threatening at all. Now, we're just about a month now past the peak of the hurricane season, which occurred back here on the 10th of September. And even though we have this secondary peak in October just about now, what we're seeing out there today leads us to believe that we're not going to get anything right away. One reason we had that secondary peak is this concentration of hurricanes and tropical storms that we've had in the past in the Western Caribbean. That's during this particular 10-day period, the 11th to the 20th. But right today, we're not seeing anything. And the reason we're not seeing anything across the Atlantic is that we have westerly winds now at upper levels all the way across the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and indeed out in the Atlantic itself. Next hour, I'm going to try to show you the upper winds, and that'll explain that, I think, very nicely for you. We have a few showers north of Panama, not getting organized, and some out here north of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, and some showers around Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. All this, though, is moving toward the east, not toward the west, as tropical systems do in the heart of the season. And here again, in the Caribbean. You can see these showers are confined to the very southern part of the Caribbean. Nothing organized in the Gulf of Mexico. That's kind of been swept out by a cold front. And even the tropical wave that came through the islands yesterday, pretty well dissipated now. We don't see a whole lot of showers out there. And nothing expected to develop this time of year out in the eastern Atlantic Ocean. So that's the tropics. Let's come back to Kristen now for the USA update.
All right, thank you very much. And here's the way our current map stands. Still have that rain being pushed through New England along our front, and anticipating an area of low pressure to form off the coast of Boston to bring in more rain for your evening commute home. The front is stretching farther to the south, so some cooler air coming into Atlanta and also in Nashville. Zooming into the radar out of Hartford, we do see some of those downpours continuing. A thunderstorm now getting ready to move over Providence, and everything streaking toward Boston at a fairly fast clip. Also still see some very heavy showers here along Long Island. New York, some improving conditions for you, but we're not going to rule out the possibility of a quick shower by this afternoon. We do see the rain tapering off in Seattle, however, cold air coming in with the potential for snow in the Cascades. Details next.
A wet start to the day in parts of the Northeast. We'll look at just how long it may last, plus conditions nationwide, just ahead on Weather Center after your local forecast.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. This chair has layer after layer of paint on it. You might know the feeling if you don't pay your full credit card balances every month. Layers of expensive finance charges on top of principal until, well, it seems like you'll never get out from under. But you can. If you own a home or are about to, it's as easy as 123. 1-800-HOME-123. Call them.
Well, on Stormwatch today, we're looking at another heavy rain event moving into the northeastern United States. That would be tonight and through tomorrow. Also, some severe reports. We've had hail and even a tornado reported in the upper Midwest and a developing storm system in the Rockies. That's after Steve Lyons takes a look at the tropical update.
Well, thank you, Mike, and welcome to the tropical update tonight. We have a couple of things out there in the tropics, and we'll start way out in the extreme western Pacific and fill you in on what's going on with our Typhoon Zeb here. You can see it out here moving. It's moved over northern Luzon Island and starting to move back out to sea. We can see that a little bit better when we zoom in on it and see here the eye has opened up. Right now, this general area here is sort of the eye center, but it's still what we would consider a major hurricane, even though it's a typhoon. Same structure, it's just a different name west of the date line. It would be considered a Category 3 hurricane with 115-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to continue on up in the general direction of Taiwan, the island up in here. You can see Manila's down to the south, and they're right now experiencing brisk southwesterly flow and a lot of rain showers. But it's not going to re-intensify to the extent that it had before with those 180-mile-an-hour sustained winds. Very, very devastating. We haven't had any reports on what went on here on the east coast of Luzon, but when we get that information, we'll fill you in on what's going on there. Now, as you go back to the eastern Pacific and see what's going on there, we had a tropical storm yesterday, went up to hurricane. Now we're back to Tropical Storm K. As of 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, position was 14.6 north, 120.9 west. Winds, minimal tropical storm, 1 mile per hour above it, 40 miles per hour, about 860 miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico here, and you can see it's moving to the south-southwest at 8. And when we look on the satellite imagery here, it's really now become pretty much a low-level vortex moving with the low-level flow of this stratocumulus cloud toward the southwest. Very, very small circulation, and we can see that when we look at the broader scale picture of the tropical Pacific. We have three areas of disturbed weather. This big cloud cluster back here to the south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec, this big cloud cluster over here to the southwest of Acapulco, and then here's our tropical storm here, which is absolutely tiny and getting tinier as we speak. So nothing to worry about there, but some showers moving up toward Cabo. We'll keep an eye on this. Stay tuned to the Weather Channel to see if this one develops. It has some potential to do so. Now in the Atlantic Basin, we're basically in a November upper-level wind pattern right now, which is very favorable for all of us that don't like tropical cyclones, which is everyone that has any property or interest in the coastal zone here. You can see upper level westerlies all the way through the tropics, which is typical of November and not so much October. And because of that, it's basically put everything in check in the Atlantic Basin. Let's run through each of the areas and we'll check those off as we go. You can see here in the Gulf of Mexico, very strong upper level westerly winds. North of this jet axis here, very clear weather. The winds up here are on the order of 60 to 80 miles per hour. Nothing developing there. Now we had this area of disturbed weather down there, and there's still a tendency for low pressure there, and that's a tendency that we generally think we would expect tropical development, but you can see upper level northwesterly flow, nothing happening there, and that flow goes all the way through the Caribbean as westerly flow there. Nothing going to happen there. The central Atlantic, no disturbances, and again, upper level westerly flow you can see in these plumes of cirrus high clouds blowing off toward the east. And finally, off the coast of Africa, you can see disturbances, big cluster thunderstorms, but strong westerly flow. We're free and clear. Let's get back to that tornado activity in the Midwest now with Mike.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Yes, there was a tornado reported north of Des Moines a couple of hours ago, and that was over Marshall County, but we haven't had any confirmation on that, but still some severe weather moving through that area and the northeast. Not severe, but heavy rain in an area that got severely flooded over the weekend, like Maine and New Hampshire. Now just entering that area. We don't expect such a proliferous event this time, but it's still adding insult to injury. Meanwhile, McLeod County had golf ball size hail a while ago in Minnesota, and hail covered the ground. The tornado was in Marshall County, reported in that area northeast of Des Moines. Still some very heavy activity from Minnesota all the way through Iowa on into the northwest. The rain still coming down around Seattle, and it should continue. More on Weather Center after your local forecast.
Another round of rain soaks parts of the northeast. Will wet weather put a damper on the rest of your week? Find out just ahead on Weather Center after your local forecast.
Legend has it that in 1875, John Rich of Woolrich introduced the buffalo plaid shirt, a name inspired by its creator's love for the big, burly animal. For over 165 years, Woolrich has been known for authentic, functional outdoor wear for men and women. Clothes that are perfect for whatever you like to do in the outdoors. Woolrich, the original outdoor clothing company.
Woolrich is available at specialty, outdoor, department, and sporting goods stores.
Is Iams cat food good for life?